There we go. A little bit about Gubagoo. We have been in business for 5 years. We only went to market 2 years ago. We sat in an incubative state developing a behavioral scoring engine so we can learn how to identify people's behavior and patterns on a website so that we can take these anonymous, unidentifiable, unique visitors that come back to your website multiple times and make them identifiable so that when they repeat visit to the website, we can actually engage them, identify the pages they're going to, the vehicles they're interested in, even though we don't know their name, the vehicle they drive, or where they live, all for the purpose of improving their experience on the site and engaging them through chat, through telephony, through publishing and sharing. I got an AV problem. A little bit about the background of our company is our subject matter experience in The Beast, which is our behavioral scoring engine that takes these anonymous visitors and makes them identifiable. Our ChatSmart platform that publishes, shares, and engages your traffic on the website 24/7. And our TalkSmart platform that helps engage the inbound calls that come off the web if it's not through chat. With that being said, we've been monitoring the lead business for several years, and we have identified that the shift in the way dealers are spending their money is changing. You're trying to drive your own traffic to your site, generate your own organic visitors. And we've identified that almost 40+% of the visitors have gone mobile on the site. So you've got one of the fastest growing segments. And for example, when you look at the Google phone, you used to have to go to Google, search the business, then go to the website, get the phone number, and call. Today, you can go right from Google, click to call, and dial into the dealership. That's what's causing a lot of these form submissions to decline, is that people can actually call right from the search engine. Along with that, after hours when your dealership's closed, chat is evolving and increasing at the highest level we've ever seen in conversations. And the bottom line to all of this is customers are looking for more real-time interaction and engagement. So we did a case study on Toyota, Scion, and Lexus, and we wanted to investigate the difference between passive chat and a smart chat platform and the impact it could have on the website and what it can have on your conversion rates from visitor to chat, chat to lead, and lead to sale. And the results were quite surprising. The framework of our study was based on 46 Toyota stores from January to June, 16 Lexus stores, and 6 Scion stores, which we only started the pilot on in July and August. Now, all of the data that we have generated and aggregated has been analyzed through Google Analytics, Gubagoo Analytics, and the dealer's ILM or CRM tool. And one very big key takeaway was that if you looked at the conversion rates and our successes, Toyota sites were converting at 74%, extremely high. Scion was at 84%, the highest of all of our brands. And Lexus came in at 71%. And one of the big takeaways with Scion was we didn't have a problem engaging the customers. We didn't have a problem interrupting them. We didn't have a problem publishing offers, and we certainly didn't have a problem converting them. The challenge we found was we weren't getting enough eyeballs on the site. So one of the big notes for everybody in the room off this analysis, which we're going to hand out the full detailed case study to everybody afterwards, is if you can drive more traffic to your site, generate more eyeballs through these approaches you're seeing today, these methodologies have a huge impact on your web traffic to conversion. So with that being said, what we've done is we've showed some of the performance here. So Smart Toyota, for example, saw an increase in closing average of 14% with an average conversion rate of 80%. Kirkland Toyota saw an average conversion over 8 months of 80%, and their total sales was around 26% off the web from just chat alone using a smart platform. Their Renton store, which is also part of the O'Brien Auto Group, came in around 72%. Limbo came in with an increase in sales of 60%. Their cost per lead on average was $3.50, and their cost per sale was $37.50, so very low cost for acquisition. When you looked at some of the other stores here, we had one store which saw an increase of 22% and an ROI of 72%. So what you're seeing here are numbers that are pretty large, very meaningful, highly impactful to your bottom line. And what was most interesting was how service and parts has tremendously benefited from these interactive chat platforms. And so as we go through a couple of more of these stores here, Team Toyota saw a 73% conversion. From a Lexus store, they saw 77%, where their cost per lead was $7 and their cost per sale was $33. So the numbers were staggering. Their close to average was 18%. They were averaging 30 units a month, month over month, consistently. And so why is this so successful? And it really comes down to first generation chat platforms that are out there today that many of you are familiar with. They're quite passive. You're familiar with a greeter that pops on the web page, and if you don't click on it, there's no interaction. Or a button that says live chat, click here. Smart platforms, they take all the behavioral data from the customer's previous activity on your site, the number of repeat visits. It looks at the departments they viewed, it looks at the vehicles they viewed, it predictively matches and models their information, so when they come back a second or third time, you can improve the relevant experience, and when there is an interaction with that customer or consumer online, you have the right conversation with the right offer on the right page with the right incentive and the right inventory, which improves the consumer experience. So the smart platform capabilities it's almost giving the website a brain and creating a more relevant experience for these consumers who are looking for a more interactive real-time experience. So with that said, what we have here are some of the best practices that we evaluated that would demonstrate what is driving the difference between passive and smart chat capabilities. And so one of them is behavioral scoring. And so obviously Gubagoo has developed this platform, but from the experience we've learned, all of you buy traffic from those sources coming from the cloud. And all of those visitors are unique and unidentifiable in the present form. And when they come back to the website 2 or 3 times, and the website treats them as if it's a first-time visitor, if you don't do something different the second or third visit, you're going to get the same result as a first-time consumer on the site. So by having a system or a solution in your chat platform that allows you to track and analyze the click patterns, the behaviors, the departments, do they search new car only, do they stay at the vehicle detail level, or just stay at the search level, this information allows you to take these anonymous, unique individuals and start to identify them when they come back a second, a third, and fourth time. So what we're doing is we're seeing how we can take unique visitors and take them from anonymous to identifiable. But with every unique visitor, you're not going to have a live conversation every time they come back to the site. So in between their frequency of visits, as their scores rise, you want to engage them with relevant offers because you now know, you don't know their name, you don't know where they live, you don't know the car they drive, but you do know what department they're going to, what pages they're going to go on to, you know how many times they've frequented that page, how many minutes they've spent. So you can serve up incentives that are relevant to that individual to make their offer more relevant to their visit. And the idea is to, while waiting to engage someone, be able to also serve incentives up to convert them. And if your scores continue to rise, then you can do other things to the customer. And this is where, if you do have a chat platform, look into the fact that all this behavioral data that is harvested off your site is being taken into an actionable tool and allowing you to do more than just wait for the consumer to click. And so, for example, a smart chat platform which shows the score in the middle of the screen can tell you a lot about how to engage a visitor, how to greet a first-time customer, or how to interrupt somebody. Or when is it to serve an incentive and not engage them. And so you'll see here, for example, in the bottom right corner of the screen, we call her Alice. This is a web greeter. This is a first-time visitor. They come to the home page. If you look at Contact at Once, Active Engage, Engage to Sell, they all have greeter page buttons. But that's on a home page. That's first-time visitor. If you have somebody who's searching your inventory, you don't want to have them wait and click on a button and ask the question. Some of the best practices we identified is start the chat, open it up, stay in the corner of the screen, and let them know while they're sourcing your inventory, if you have a question, just ask us. Don't let them wait to start the conversation. And what you'll find is that you get even more engagement because while they're looking at the cars, they can ask a question. And then if you go to the top right corner, here's a high-frequency visitor who has come back 13, 14 times, turned down every relevant offer that they clicked on that made them interested, where you can actually interrupt them. Because the best practice would say, excuse me, Mr. Anonymous person, we don't know your name and number, but we know the cars you like. You've come back 14 times. Every relevant offer has not converted you. The website hasn't converted you. How can we help you? So when you can identify your high-frequency visitors and you can engage them correctly, conversions can be as high as 90% because you're hitting them at the right time on the right page. For example, your traffic that goes to the vehicle detail page level. If you have a consumer that's on that page for 2 minutes, pop up on the page and ask them how you can help. They're researching the car. You got them at the most opportune time in the lowest part in the funnel when it's best to ask the question. Again, another level where, as a technique, you can convert as high as 95% because you've got them at the right time. And then, of course, while you're in a chat conversation, you also want to re-engage them with incentives, with inventory, which leads to the next best practice that we discovered with all the platforms available, is inventory control. If you have a chat solution running, confirm if you have inventory running in your solution. You see, as a company that competes in the chat space, we say that we help reduce defection, we keep people on the site longer, and we increase conversion. But if you push a web link to a customer, you actually perpetuate defection, because the good news is if somebody asks me a question about a vehicle and I go to the dealer's website, search the inventory, then grab the link and paste it into the chat console for the customer to read, 99% of the time when they click on the link, they're going to hang up on you, which means you had them and you lost them. So one of the best practices we evaluated was inventory in your chat. This way, when someone asks you a question, you don't have to go to the website, so you can respond faster. 2, with every conversation, you're talking about a stock number that's in inventory on the ground in your dealership. And 3, you can respond in a faster way that is stock number particular, where you control the conversation. You'll see here in this image, you don't push web links, push the inventory. So if they shut the chat down, they lose the inventory. If they reopen it 2 clicks deep, the inventory reappears, and so does the chat operator, even if they're not talking to you. So 3 ways to engage. If they want to see something about the photography on the vehicle, click on the red link and it slides out so that you control the conversation. You keep the consumer engaged. So now you can be stock number particular, you can be vehicle specific, you can have faster response time, you can control the conversation, and you keep them online for a longer period of time, so that you reduce the defection and you keep the engagement higher. A very powerful component that from our analysis showed where the conversions came in. Along with that, as I explained earlier on, you can't always have a live conversation with a customer on every visit. So when in between those visits where they're not talking and they're not engaging and they're surfing, you want to match that consumer to the vehicle of interest with the right relevant offer and throttle the incentives. First-time visitors can get a test drive. 10-time visitor that hasn't converted, increase the incentive from a $20 test drive to $50. Or maybe you have a customer who's looking at a Camry, but you have one that happens to be 75 days of age, where you want to put a special incentive on that stock number. So you promote that incentive on that vehicle even though they're talking about Camrys. So you can actually publish relevant offers to these consumers, target your aged inventory, and engage the customers when they won't engage you with a live dialogue. So publishing is a very powerful component, and what's powerful from our analysis of the publishing is that when you get test drive incentives, lease offer incentives, trade-in offers, you can identify from the lead the kind of buyer you're dealing with. You can capture the trade information. You can identify the kind of vehicle you're dealing with before you even meet the customer. So publishing with relevant offers, lease payments, very powerful way to convert tools. We've seen sites that are generating up to 200 leads a month from publishing and 150 to 300 leads a month from chat, which has a compounded effect on the total conversion of a website. So with that being said, also comes phone calls. And calls are coming off the web in very large numbers. So when your internet department is closed or your BDC is closed at night, best practice states you should have a service that can support your overflow calls. So let's say during the working day on the 4th ring, you guys missed the call. It's a lost opportunity. Have a service that can actually support the call and take it. But you don't want a service where they just take the name and number and have someone call you back. That's an answering service. Make sure you evaluate services where they can actually have the inventory available to the agent, so when they take the call, they can match the DID or the number they're calling in off of the ad to available inventory, so when the agent talks to the customer off that call, be it after hours when you're closed or during working hours when you missed it, you can trade information with them, because you missed the call, and the job of these agents aren't to sell the car, it's to trade information. Let's capture their email address. Mr. Customer, I found 3 other Camrys in stock that might be of interest. Why don't you give me your email address and I'll email it to you right now. And we've seen tools that send emails out that show the vehicle the customer was calling in, presenting and laying out similar like inventory with the best offers. So that if you can't set the appointment for the dealership, at least when you turn the lead into the dealership, you will know what the qualifying questions were that the agent had asked based on what the dealer's needs are, the most similar inventory available in stock that the dealership should know this customer might be interested in, and a live recorded call of the entire conversation. So that when these internet leads or missed phone ups that come into the BDC after hours and the next morning are as clear as concise opportunities to call back and have a meaningful conversation with the customer without having to reference 3 or 4 different tools to build this information up. And so these were some of the best practices that we were able to extrapolate from all the stores analysis that helps drive higher conversion, creates more opportunity, and generates more sales. And with that being said, if there's any questions or any, thank you very much.
Yeah, good stuff. Who's got the mic? Do we have any mics? I'll ask you to stay on stage. It looks like we have a few questions for you, Brad. We have a question in the back. Go ahead, we'll just repeat it for you. Yeah, oh, there we go. Thanks, Mike. Mike's got the mic.
Hello.
There we go.
One of the questions that I have is that the older chat platforms have the advantage of being able to work on the third-party sites as well, so that we're only using one platform on the backside.
Yes.
Is this compatible with other third-party sites?
Well, that's an interesting question. So the majority of the third-party sites are locked up with a company called Contact at Once. And when we did an analysis of almost 700 websites over the last 7 months, we found the average number of chats that came off Cars.com, AutoTrader was around 14 questions a month. So a lot of these chat platforms that are using the must-have solution because you don't want to run 2 separate systems convert at a very low level. We've seen conversions as low as 6%, where certain platforms run 70, 80%. And dealers are misinterpreting the value of chat from the third-party site versus the value of their own organic traffic where people was directed through Google and AdWords or organic visitors. So it's a bit of a quagmire when you look at it from that point of view, but self-monitoring those sites versus having a solution that is a little bit more intelligent on your own site is a whole different proposition.
Great question.
Yeah, you might have answered this, but when you talked about the 74% conversion rate with the 46 test stores that you ran, what was the close rate that translated into units sold? Do you have that number?
Yeah, so each store was different, so if I go backwards here, I'll pull those screens up for you. If I can. Is it off?
Is the screen on?
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, point it up there if you can. There you go, perfect job. Thanks. Yeah,
So for example, Lexus of Pembroke Pines, they were generating 18% closing average off of smart leads, delivering about 30 units a month. If I go to this store here, this store saw a 22% increase with an ROI of 72% return on their investment. And again, this relates to your question. A lot of these dealers have Contact at Once for AutoTrader and Cars.com because they're such a low volume and it's a must-have. And we're handling, or not us, but chat vendors that can actually support the smart platform. They're handling, 150 to 300 conversations a month off your own organic and pay-per-click traffic. Another site here, Limbo Toyota, they saw an increase from the previous chat vendor by 60%, and their cost per lead decreased, and their cost per sale went down. And again, it's because you're mixing relevant incentives with real-time conversations that match the customer's interaction and interest, because you're using all the previous history. Another store here saw 26% of all their car sales were generated from, I know that's our client, however, a 26% increase on their sales strictly from their internet department off of a smart platform. And again, I'm not here to promote us as much as show you what the best practices are that can drive higher opportunities. Smart Toyota saw closing averages increase by 14%. So we actually hired a firm to objectively analyze our data, survey the dealerships, so that there was no bias between our subject matter experience and what the true benchmarks were on these stores. Which was very challenging, being that we always promote ourselves.
How many folks here use Amazon.com? Who shops on Amazon.com? Good number of us, right? So think of it this way, folks. You go to jcpenney.com, you go to kmart.com, even Costco and some of the other larger retailers. What do you see? You see what they want you to see. You see their newest product, you see what's on sale. You don't see what's necessarily tailored for you. This is where we think the industry is going to start headed towards, where Amazon does an amazing job at acknowledging our previous purchase history, even acknowledging our previous search history, not just from their own website, but from outside sources as well. We ask our presenters not to be pitchy, not to be salesy up here, but as you know, we always look and scour the industry to find the best in class so that we can bring you guys the latest cutting edge technology. Translation on the back end, smarter chat companies versus chat that just appears randomly have hand over fist much better conversion rate from lead gen through the close rate, because ultimately the best leads that come into your store traditionally are the leads that come off your website and maybe even TFS and Toyota.com as well.
Yeah, your Toyota leads are always highest closing, and then your own organic and pay-per-click traffic comes second. Third-party leads that follow at the third level, tier 3.
So if you're not using chat today, strongly recommend get a chat provider. If you have a chat provider, take some of the best practices, apply it, ask them to get a little bit smarter, ask them to kind of understand, tap into the analytics that we have on your customer. Facebook's gonna get creepy on us and tell us how really involved we can get with understanding our customer, where they've been, what they're into, what their friends are into. Again, this is just really more of a glimpse for us to understand what's happening on the back end of some of these technologies. The end result is genuinely more leads, and we believe more sales as well. So. We have plenty of time for more questions if anybody else wants to ping Brad. Okay, thank you very much, Brad from Gubagoo.